Welcome to my presentation. I'm Caroline Mongina Matara, a civil engineer by profession, and I've specialized in road construction and supervision. So ideally a transportation engineer. So in this proposal, my title is Investigation of the Barriers to the Integration of BIM in the Road Construction Project Management. I've been in this industry for the last 10 years, and in my country, I've noted that in roads, there's a lack of integration of BIM. Mostly it's in structures. So that's why I was motivated to do this research. So my presentation generally includes an introduction, problem statement. I will also talk about my research aims. I'll briefly go through literature review, then I'll mention my methodology and my expected outcomes. And there's a slide also on the references. So yes, so now in Kenya currently, the construction industry is key in the GDP. It contributes to about 7.1% of the GDP. And as a country, we have a Vision 2030 goal, which is to improve. One of its components is on infrastructure, more so on the roads sector and building sector. And as we are focusing towards achieving this vision 2030, we've been able to get challenges such as inefficiencies during the construction. We also have corruption and bureaucratic project approvals. We also have skill shortages. So, and also we normally face delays. And as I did my literature review, and as I've seen in the construction buildings, so integration of BIM, which is a digital tool, is key in minimizing some of these impacts. And what has happened from studies done is that BIM, even if it has been known, its implementation is very minimal, especially in Kenya. So we have lack of awareness. We also do not have people who have been trained on BIM. Then we don't have regulatory framework supporting its adoption. So we have the road agencies, the construction, there's no framework which can help us in uptaking or adapting this BIM. So this becomes as a key challenge, because if we need to improve our construction industry, we need to improve our outputs and also the quality of work, then we need to have BIM in our projects. So yeah, originally BIM was there for buildings, but now it's even applied in roads, railways, and energy, and also other utilities. So, and it has been proven to improve project efficiency. It's key in collaboration and cost management. And these are some of the things which we need in our country, Kenya. So, also in our country, what is key is that roads are crucial for economic growth, yet the BIM adoption remains minimal. So we have challenges like inefficiencies, budget overruns, poor infrastructure, which hinder modernization. So ideally, that's why I decided to do this research, which is basically identifying what are the barriers to BIM adoption in road projects. So, and I aim to develop strategies which can be used to integrate BIM and also improve sustainability in our road construction. So therefore, my research objective is to determine the challenges which are associated with incorporating BIM into road projects in Kenya. Specific objectives are to identify the level of awareness among stakeholders in the integration of BIM in road construction project management, then to analyze the barriers that hinder BIM in road construction projects. So is it technological barriers, is it skills barriers? So those are some of the things I would like to find out more about. Then I also want to develop recommendations and strategies which can be used so that we can incorporate BIM into road project management in Kenya, because the benefits of BIM are far much higher. So what are my research questions? Therefore, my research questions are: what is the current level of awareness of BIM among stakeholders in Kenya roads construction sector? And What ideally are the barriers towards the adoption of BIM in road construction projects? And what strategies can be adopted? So what can we do as a country so that we improve the integration of BIM in road construction projects? So basically, those are the main research questions which I aim to answer at the end of my research. So I did some literature review and I later just some of the studies. There's more in my paper. And the first study is one which was done in China by Zhang et al. 2022. And in his studies, some of the barriers were identified as government policies, management support, and technological readiness, and which were identified as critical in China's infrastructure sector, as critical for BIM adoption. Then the study also highlighted that BIM is key in cost control and project management. And the research gap for this study was limited focus on BIM in road construction. So it just did not focus on road construction. Then another study by Hamed et al. 2024 identified financial constraints, complexity, and interoperability issues which hinder the adoption of the BIM in Malaysia's construction industries. So in this study, what was lacking was lack of studies and interoperability issues in road construction, especially in the context, if you look at like my country, in the context of Kenya. Then another study by Oligobea and Windapo 2023, it identified organizational barriers, and then also there was some resistance to change, and this was some of the most critical challenges in South African adoption. So, and there was need for research on BIM adoption threshold specific to road construction. That was what I found out lacking in that study. I also did other studies, Olen Rawaju et al. 2020, whereby he identified 14 barriers towards adoption of BIM, and he grouped the barriers into technology, people, cost, and process-related issues. So ideally, also this research was not specific, for instance, to road construction and how technological and economic barriers can interact. Another study which I did now was for Kenya, which was Oyuga 2024. Ideally, BM adoption in road construction sector, that's what they said in the study, is quite low due to high cost, limited training, and weak copyright enforcement. So, and in the study, actually, it was in the construction structures building sector, but they noted that it dropped. It's due to high cost, limited training, and weak copyright enforcement. That is why it was not being adopted. And the research gap there was limited focus on road projects and absence of government BIM mandates. And then another was by Mumbua to 2016, which identified as which is also in Kenya, identified organizational structure and processes and technology will normally influence BIM adoption. So need for research on contractual relationships and stakeholder roles in BIM adoption was what was recommended in the study. Then Alakali et al. Also recognized that PM is normally critical when you want to have design accuracy, then it reduces rework and enhances collaboration. So, and also noted that the technological limitation and shortages and resistance to change are some of the things which hinder BIM adoption in the country. So I came up with some of the research gaps. So, and basically from most studies, they were just general studies and none was focusing more on road construction, and also the concept of having some input about sub-Saharan Africa becomes critical, Kenya being in a sub-Saharan African country. Then also how stakeholders integrate or what is their input into this BIM adoption in road construction. So basically, that is part of the gaps to identify. And for my study, I made it specific that this study will be focusing on road projects. So, and generally, whatever you get in the structures, output may not be the same as what you have in the road sector. Then also the other thing is that our study is specific to sub-Saharan Africa. So that also makes it unique, because the findings in sub-Saharan Africa might not be the same as what is there in the developed countries, because we all have different challenges depending on the country which we are coming from. So therefore, I came up with this conceptual framework whereby I've outlined my independent variables and dependent variable. So my dependent variable is successful adoption of BIM in road construction projects. What's really behind that? It depends on some of these independent variables. So is it technological advancement which is hindering us as a country towards adopting BIM in road projects? Is it because we do not have capacity and skills? Yeah, which are hindering us in adapting BIM road construction projects? Is it because we lack financial support and investment? Is it because I saw in some countries the government normally provides some incentives, and also there's some policy and regulation and frameworks. For instance, in the UK, I've seen that in their country, they say that it's necessary to have, for any road construction, for any project, BAM must be integrated in any government funded project. Is it because some of our organizations lack the capacity? So these are some of the independent variables I'll be looking out for in my research, and these independent variables are going to be placed in my questionnaire and also in my key interviews. And from that data, I can be able now to narrow down what exactly is this barrier towards adoption of these um, road road construction BIM in road construction projects. So for instance, it might be also, for instance, like for us in Kenya, there are many stakeholders who are normally involved in road construction. So for instance, we normally have road utilities in the road corridors, and maybe there's no sufficient collaboration between maybe those who have water utilities, power utilities, and also those who are constructing the road. So, and because of that, it leads to problems in implementation. For instance, when you talk about project delays, some of these project delays are because maybe the stakeholders did not or are not collaborating, and is a key issue when it comes to a project, when contractors have to apply for extension of time. So basically, that's what my conceptual framework is about, and it's going to come out more in my questionnaire and also my interviews, whereby I'll be finding out on how what's the relationship between the dependent variable and the independent variable. So my research methodology. So I plan to use a mixed method approach. So, and I'm interested in getting quantitative and qualitative data so that I can have a comprehensive insights on this research. So ideally, I'm going to have questionnaires, and these questionnaires will have open-ended questions and also closed-ended questions, so I can gather some qualitative and quantitative data. I plan to do my survey on at least 70 industry stakeholders who are coming from the consultants. And I will also have deep key informant interviews so that I can get expert insights on BIM barriers and policy interventions. Then I also plan to do some review of documents to find out, do we have any policies towards BIM in our country? Do you have any reports on BIM implementation? And then I'll also analyze some case studies so that I can have a contextual analysis of my research. So I said that my questionnaires will be on 70 at least 70 individuals from different consulting firms, and I got the number using this Slovian's equation, whereby I was able to get data that in Kenya the number of consulting firms which are in civil engineering are 215 from the Engineers Board of Kenya, and I had a margin of 10%, at least it gives 90% confidence level. With that, I was able to get 68 and I rounded off to 70. So at least I should get data from 70 firms, consulting firms, and then from those 70 consulting firms, I can be able to get sufficient quantitative data. Then for the qualitative part, I want to do purposive sampling. I will look for those firms which have specifically specialized in BIM, and that's it's from those firms whereby I will do some key informant interviews so that I can be able to get more data, because these have direct experience with BIM and road construction expertise. So how do I plan to do my data analysis? So I'll use SPSS for descriptive and inferential statistics. Then for qualitative, I'll do thematic analysis so that I can identify any recurring patterns from the information I get. Then I will also do an assessment of regulatory gaps and also implementation challenges. So for the policy review from the documentation, I'm going to do some assessment. Then in my research, as I said, I'll be using questionnaires. There's ethical considerations. There's informed consent, which I'm going to ask the participants for their participation being voluntary, and also confidentiality will also be maintained. I'll also be anonymous. I'm not going to ask respondents about their names to protect my respondents. Then I'll also have cultural sensitivity. I'm going to respect the participants' perspectives and also context. So what exactly are my expected outputs? Ideally, from this research, I expect to develop a comprehensive framework for understanding BIM adoption in Kenya road construction industry. Then I'm also aiming at filling a crucial gap on BIM in developing countries, as Kenya is a developing country, specifically in the road sector. And then I'm going to come up with practical recommendations to improve BIM adoption, so which can be used by our government and also stakeholders in the construction industry. Then this information is critical in guiding future policy development. So when you're developing our policies, so for instance, like our government can choose to do some incentives or can put up a policy which ensures that government projects also have BIM in their projects as a compulsory output of BIM. Then this is critical because what we need as a country is to enhance efficiency and sustainability in our road construction industry. That is once we adopt BIM. Then also we are in need of project quality and cost effectiveness, a key problem. So if some of my recommendations are put into place, then we can improve our quality of projects and cost effectiveness, because BIM is going to be adopted. Then ideally, potential influence on BIM adoption in other developing nations. So I said Kenya is a country in sub-Saharan Africa, and I believe in sub-Saharan Africa we have many similarities. So whatever these study findings I will get can be applied in other developing nations. So those are my expected outputs. So, and these are some of my references which I used for my study, and my document has more references. I could not put all of them in this PowerPoint. These are some of the references. As you can see, some of them are for studies which are done on BIM in Malaysia, others of BIM in the construction industry in Kenya, but not specific to road. And then others are what are the benefits of BIM, then which are some of the challenges affecting public procurement performance in Kenya. So, and BIM mentioned as a challenge. Then what are the barriers in developing countries? So those are some of the studies which I had reviewed or had cited in my work. And for more, you can get more in my thesis or in my proposal document. So thank you so much for listening. In case of any questions, I hope to go on with this work in my project in this unit. And yeah, I'm grateful for Intit for providing me this opportunity. So thank you so much for following my presentation.